Japan is a land that is a mix of heritage and technology. It seems fitting then that this country would eventually embrace motorsport wholeheartedly, with how racing culture similarly values those two aspects of itself. But today will be less dependent on history or computer wizardry and more on skill. Suzuka often rewards those with prowess behind the wheel, while leaving the rest scratching their heads as to how to find speed. Let's see who has the touch as we get ready to watch the PCA Sim Racing Series 8 live here on Podium Esports. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth tonight is DJ Clark and Rachel Whiteford. Cameron Aubernon is on social media along with Ryan Bauer producing, who is using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. This circuit has been the scene of some of racing's most dramatic moments. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it. Welcome to Suzuka Circuit, perhaps most famous for its hosting of the Formula One Japanese Grand Prix for much of the event's history. This track sees all sorts of racing besides that. In fact, this place began as a test track for Honda, but later proved to be a driver and fan favorite for competitive motorsports as well. The full layout of the Grand Prix course steals the show, but there's actually 5 different versions that can be run on iRacing. With their lap lengths ranging from just over 2 kilometers to nearly 6 kilometers, plenty of different types of cars can suit the track. GT racing and lower-level open-wheelers are quite popular, but motorcycles are also a staple here. Some of the corners have become world-renowned over the years. The S's are often cited as one of the great tests of a driver's technical prowess. Then, of course, there's Degners 1 and 2, which provide very little runoff considering their fast and narrow entry. Later on, the long backstretch leads up to the notorious 130R, which is blindingly fast. The Casio Triangle offers one last chance at an overtake if you're brave, but has been the scene of many drivers clattering into one another over the years. F1 fans will be quick to cite the infamous coming together here between Senna and Prost. However, real-life visitors will find it's more than the racing that provides some viewing pleasures. The unique ways in which the Japanese fans celebrate their favorite cars and drivers certainly capture your attention. But it's no wonder they're such fanatics, because who wouldn't be with one of the world's greatest tracks right in your backyard? Well, DJ, I'm pretty certain today is going to be a real test for the drivers. This place is often touted as one that basically brings out the best in the field in terms of just sheer skill.
Yeah, indeed it does, Joe. It's a very, very tricky circuit to get right. Really, from the decreasing radius first corner, that double apex right-hander, working its way up through the S is such a rhythmic place to be able to feel it, and then coming down through the Degners, very, very tricky to be able to carry speed and precision through both of those areas. And then obviously coming up all the way into Spoon, that is such a tricky corner to try to decrease oversteer as much as possible. From there on out, though, 130R not going to be as nearly as difficult, say, in some other cars. These drivers should be able to take that corner relatively flat out, and it'll set up a pretty good overtaking zone, maybe going down into the Casio Triangle, as well as look for an overtaking zone going down into the outside, sweeping around turn 1, a la Kimi Räikkönen. But from there on out, it's really going to be a race of just minimizing mistakes and hoping the drivers in front of you make a mistake instead.
Well, and sometimes it might be a case of waiting for those mistakes, because I was looking at the practice, Rachel, and while it may have been Lacombe who took the win last time out at Summit Point, and he leads Thomas Briggs in the points, well, unfortunately today I saw a full second between P1 and P2 in practice. This does not look good for everybody else who wants the win.
Well, konnichiwa, boys. We're here in Japan, and yes, right now, it is looking very, very different in terms of how this one might shape out. We'll have to see what he can do, because this could really be a huge opportunity for Lacombe to really solidify his position, but Briggs is looking like he might be the outlier here. Some drivers, they are very good at this track. Some are not, no matter how good they are elsewhere. Suzuka really does change things, and the Japanese tracks in general do. They all have something in common that a lot of other tracks do not. The asphalt is very, very slippery. They use volcanic ash, or pumice, or volcanic rock, I should say, in a lot of their tarmac, their asphalt. And it makes for a much finer grain than you get in American or European asphalt, so you end up with a much, much smoother track surface, which means it's a bit more slippery.
Yeah, we've seen that time and time again here on races both here at Okayama and a couple other Japanese circuits that they've got here in the sim. But we've got Lacombe right now on screen coming to finish his first flying lap. Let's hope this one actually counts, because they only get 3. And so the easy off tracks that you can rack up at this place could really throw you for a loop. And it does look like he's gone to the provisional pole over Chad Dick, but we are still waiting on Thomas Briggs to set a time. Lervold looks like he has got himself, well, he was in 3rd, and now Steve Komatz is up there instead. But we look at Thomas Briggs here, DJ. Let's see if he can back up that impressive practice time.
Yeah, as you said, over a second above his competitors. Joe Briggs not necessarily looking like he is going to be out here on a fast lap, weaving, coming down that long back straightaway into 130R, just trying to get some heat into the tires. It is only about 66 degrees Fahrenheit in the air, only about 84 on track, so temperature's a little bit on the cool side.
Absolutely, and coming down into the final chicane, guess this will be the start of the first flyer officially here for Thomas Briggs in that number 4. Maybe just prepping those tires a little bit to try and get some heat into them and get as much speed as he can to try and match what he was able to do before. So we've got 0.8 of a second from P1 to P2, so plenty of space for him to slot in between the pair of them, but also potentially could just destroy the entire field here with the way he looked so quick in that practice session. And coming through the snake, it's going to be a long left-hander here through Dunlop Curve and into what I think is one of the more underrated set of turns in all of racing, the Degners. I feel like today we're going to see a lot of people caught out by that one, Rachel.
Oh, we absolutely are, and this is one of my favorite parts of the track, actually. This and through the S's is a phenomenal sector here at Suzuka, and the Degners themselves will really sort people out, especially diving into the the hairpin just after Degner 2. It really makes things a little bit difficult. Dunlop Curve leading up to those corners is a really lap-making section.
Certainly could lose you a lot of time, and so far so good from what I'm seeing for Thomas Briggs. And while his last lap did count, it put some way down the order because of his intentional prepping of the tires. But Scott Kessel has now jumped himself into 2nd ahead of Chad Dick, but behind Mark Lacombe. And Komatz gets slotted to the outside of that 2nd row. And now through the ever tricky spoon curve. Oh, wow, little oversteer there, DJ. So he is hustling it.
Yeah, he certainly is, and that little snap of oversteer there, I think just a little bit of wheel spin coming up out of the corner. That's really as a result of the elevation change that you go through, cresting over that hill and starting to plunge down into the valley that makes up that backstretch.
Let's see if this is good enough. Right now I'm seeing about the amount of time that he needs to improve for pole, but that didn't look good coming off the chicane. Not sure if he just lost a little time or wasn't completely happy with the lap when he was trying to prep it. A 2:02.9 is going to be just enough to beat Lacombe by 0.046 of a second. And Mark is on his last lap here. So, Rachel, it looks like it's only one shot for the 19 to take that pole back.
One shot, it might be all he needs. He has a very fast lap, of course. It was one of the fastest in, if not the fastest, in practice. So we could really see what he can do with this. It's going to be tricky, but Briggs is up there. Gibson, not so much. And a few of these guys further back really have to do something with this.
Yeah, I'm still seeing David Purdy, Bruce Roby, and Mike Sachs without a time. And the 5.99 is definitely one that needs to try and set one, because he's usually at least a mid-pack or higher in this field. So as the challenge class finishes up their qualifying with just 1:30 left to go, will we get all of them, all I believe 25, with a time set? Oh, and Mark's going to abandon his lap. He's done. He will not get the pole position. At best, he will be in 2nd place. So now we watch Mike Sachs, who, well, he just crossed the start-finish line, DJ. So that last lap didn't count, and he doesn't have enough time for this last one.
No, and I think that last lap didn't count. I spotted a little bit of right side damage to the machine of Mark Sachs. Watching Bruce Friobe here, trying to see if he can get that last lap in, locking up a little bit down into that tricky hairpin that Rachel was talking about. It's really such a difficult corner because you have to unwind the steering coming through that little kink to the right and then immediately get on the brakes, and it's very, very easy to lock up the fronts in a way of doing that.
Reber managed to improve, but didn't take any higher positions with that last lap, so he'll stay put in 8th spot. Lawrence is going to be up next as we continue to watch, heading down towards 130R. Sherwood trying to see if he can go just that little bit quicker. Lawrence cuts it down to a 2:15.5, but will not go any higher on the timing sheets either. Robert Palmer next, 2:07.2, not bad. That'll put him into 16th. So here comes Sherwood now out of the Casio triangle. And the number 20 car sits pretty close to the mid-pack and does not get to the timing line in time, unfortunately. That'll set our grid here today with Thomas Briggs on the pole. And it is relatively close between himself and Mark Lacombe, at least closer than what we saw in practice. We'll see how he handles in the race. Kessel will start 3rd with Chad Dick in 4th. Then it's Komatz P5 and Smiley in 6. You've got Randy Lervold on the inside with Reber on the outside of row 4. Gibson starts 9th and Jason Sherwood, DJ, will be 10th.
It's going to be Chad Casey on 11th, followed by Stacey Awada and Jeff Lashaway, with Andrew McCune and Robert Benson behind them. Robert Palmer will be 16th, followed by Stefan Uradko, with Jeff Ferguson, Jack Stevens, and James Hemming rounding out your top 20.
21st tonight is Freddie Lopez with Jeremy Lawrence in 22nd. Last car at a time with Bruce Friobe, Mike Sachs, and David Purdy in 25th.
So just about have everybody out there at this point. We're just waiting on McCune, who is going to be starting from that 14th position. Is the last gap that I'm spying on the track, and it's not that long of a run down to the first corner, so they're not going to be all that sorted out by the time they try to narrow down to that double apex right-hander. Let's hope that it stays nice and clean. And McCune's certainly making sure everybody has to wait here. I'm checking to see if he is in the session. Yes, he has not disconnected, so we should see him line up, hopefully, unless he's deciding to try and start from pit lane, which would be giving up a lot of track position, even if he fears a bit of craziness on the first lap. And he's got about 20 more seconds. Then, unfortunately, they're going to take off without him today here for race number 5 of the season. We're into the halfway mark, and he is on the grid. So the lights come up, the engines start to rev, and the green flag is out. And Briggs did start from pit lane. I just noticed he is still in pit lane, and we got a big accident behind them. Thankfully, nobody else running into whoever it was that ran into the pit wall. Briggs is going to have to climb through the field as down into turns 1 and 2. They all cycle down, DJ, to single file.
Indeed, it's going to be Kessel, Dick, Lacombe, Komatz, and Gibson, your top 5. Everybody making their way single file here through the S's. No need to be too aggressive too early.
I think that purple car was Robert Palmer that we saw got spun around as we got more cars off track in the background. McCune involved in that. Lopez, Reber, and Smiley off course early in this race. So unfortunately, the trickiness of Suzuka has already bit a few, Rachel, as we now come into the Degners.
Yeah, we do, and I think for McCune it was a solo car incident. He just got a bit sideways there, unfortunately for him. But Degners through here now are one of those important spots to get right, especially this first lap is huge to your lap speed. You really want to make sure you get a fantastic run through there, but everyone's keeping it clean so far. The S's were our big danger zone.
And yeah, we saw just why, as it was Reber, I think, who was given the black flag for that incident. So he is going to have to come in and serve that one here early on. Let's see if he can make up for it as the race itself progresses. Coming down into Spoon Curve, Castle, since, he has a clear track in front of him, but he has gone clear off the track instead, DJ, and gone a little wide there at Spoon Curve.
Yeah, and that's a very easy thing to do, as we talked about, finding that understeer through the corner. The car naturally wants to drift out wide coming through that section of the track, and you've really got to do everything you can to try to fight to keep it up under you. Behind him, looks like Mark Lacombe trying to take a little bit of a move on Chad Dick. He poked his nose to the inside, coming through 130R. I don't think that was a full commit on a move, just trying to see if he could get into the head of the 930.
Thomas Briggs made a little contact with Mike Sachs, and that put him back to the back of the field again after he had passed multiple cars. But we ride with Lacombe, who was given that pole position effectively, with Briggs not starting from the grid. And there we see some of them coming down into the first corner once again. Oh, and the leaders have taken each other out. Chad Dick has suddenly had contact with Scott Kessel. Both of them are off track, and there's somebody else off as well. That looks like John Gibson. What in the world happened here?
Joe, I watched it wide. Mark Lacombe just lost it on his own. He got a little bit wide coming through there. He may have picked up a bit of the Astro, but just goosed the throttle, and that sent it around.
Just as I was commenting that Lacombe had given up the lead, he gets it right back through no attempt of his own, essentially, just sheer dumb luck. And the 19 is back up to the front, and behind him another spin. Komats, oh my goodness, Rachel, this track is just a nightmare for our drivers today.
I told you it's slippery, especially when it's this cold. This track will bite people. That's right on the apex of Digna 2. Not a great spot for that. We can see on board Cecilia Wada's car there. But this place is bad on tyres, especially cold early tyres. First couple of laps will be a little tricky, but it can be tricky throughout the race. You've got to be so careful, especially these cars. Oh, another one goes round, or nearly went round behind us. I think they did actually go round in the corner there. Yep, they did. They're off the track. That was Stacey Wada, I think.
Benson, it looks like, in the 71. Okay. Yeah, and he's going to return in about 11th as he gets overtaken by the 130. So easy pass there. And I think Sherwood just went by Lervold for second place, but that might switch back around. P2 is mighty close, and I tell you what, Jason Sherwood is up 8 positions from the start of this race, so a podium by itself, DJ, is going to be a fantastic result.
Indeed it is, and like we said, it's all about finding that rhythm around here at Suzuka. You normally don't have to be the fastest driver, you just have to be the most well-connected driver into what's going on, and it looks like Randy Lervold really and truly, and Jason Sherwood both of them up 8 and 4 spots respectively. They are locked in.
Now, the bad news for them is that because they had a bunch of cars between themselves and Mark Lacombe, well, they've got about 7.5 seconds up to him. So it's going to have to take a lot of pace for them to try and go for the win or hope for a mistake, as Awada still in the thick of it. She was trying to make a pass there, it looked like, on, I think that was Stefan in the 951 there.
Yeah, I think it was, Joe. They're really trying to get everything in here and get it all together. Working their way. That's not going to end well.
Oh, and Awada gets run into by Mike Sachs, and not sure whose fault that was, but both of them wound up in the kitty litter because of it, losing yet more places. Chad Dick inherits a couple back after he already had some dramas here today himself into turns 1 and 2. And Rachel, no, he got some help. That was some contact there.
Pity we can't see a different angle from that one, but yeah, no, Stacey Wada did get collected, I think, in that one. Unfortunate, really, when that sort of thing happens.
Yep, this is Ferguson way off, and miraculously, the 7-Up car does not hit the outside barrier through the Degners. I can't believe with how quickly he speared off the track, Rachel.
Yes, he did, and that was Mike Sachs, by the way, with the water. But this is turning into a bit of a sumo match right here. Who can muscle who to the win?
And now coming around and through to Spoon yet again as we watch this group head up to the infamous left-hander. Look to the inside from Ferguson. Gets one of the positions back from Bruce Roby and the 130 car. So Ferguson is actually still at a net gain of 5 from where he began this race. That's how bad the attrition has been in spite of that big off that we just saw him have.
Yeah, indeed, Joe. As we focus back here on Chad Dick, he is down 3 on the day, courtesy of that spin that he went off on, trying to get his way past Steven Radka here. Looks like this could be a little bit of a good run for the 930. He's going to drift down to the inside.
Also, Mike Sachs was given a black flag for that incident earlier. He's got the inside line. Here does Chad Dick, and now he's got the position. Ryadka is going to back out of it, but a little wide there. Not wide enough, apparently, as Chad Dick will not give that one up. Scott Kessel is his next up, but Scott is a lap down, so this is not going to be for position, Rachel.
No, it's not, and I don't know what position is anymore. Are we facing forwards, backwards, left, right? Is this some sort of... I don't know, actually. Is there a scoring system we're not seeing here? These drivers seem to be on a different track at the moment. I think this is... Everyone's getting a little bit shuffled up here, and it's easy to make fun, but really... It's a very unusual track compared to a lot of the rest of the season. The rest of the season's been very progressive, very procedural driving. Suzuka requires a lap-long flow, and with it being a very, very slippery surface today, I think it is absolutely catching a lot of people out, especially mid-corner, which is where we're seeing people ending up getting caught.
And this is Thomas Briggs that we're watching behind Robert Benson. Benson had a spin there at the hairpin just a couple laps ago. Ooh, and Briggs almost getting into the back of him off the turn. What's impressive here, DJ, is that Thomas is still back up to 9th after starting from pit lane, then getting tangled up in a mess, and somehow he is within the top 10, and it looks like about 24 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, indeed. It's a very, very inspired drive here from him as he works his way up now up into 8th place overall. Yes, he's down 7 on the day, but with that pit lane start, I scratch my head to think of a better drive than what we're seeing here out of Thomas Briggs.
Yeah, not sure that the win is on, but he's probably going to still collect valuable points. And I suspect, based on what we've seen from Briggs in races prior, that start from pit lane may have been intentional. Back to Sachs, who came through and served his drive-through penalty, was focusing on seeing if he could overtake the 0-1-0, but David Purdy is not going to give it up quite yet. They go through the Casio Triangle, Rachel, and back to the front stretch to start lap 5.
Yeah, and we've got a pit road entry here from one of them. I think that's a black flag service, unfortunately, as the track really will punish you. This pit road is super long here at Suzuka, and the entry compromises a huge amount of speed to get on that corner there. So black flags are going to count more, I think, here than any other track. Indeed,
and we've already seen at least one driver run into the pit entry wall from, I think, a spin, the 986. That was James Hemmig, but I think he's back out, and Rolling has taken his spare car. And continuing to watch the drivers cycle around, we switch to Gibson in the 12 machine. This is a chase for 4th. That's Casey on right in front of him, DJ, and checking to see. Yeah, that's actually, that's a battle for 2nd right there, and that might be a change of position because Sherwood had a bad run out of the corner.
Yeah, indeed, he did. Lervold trying to get a little bit of a run here coming up into Spoon. That is easier said than done, though. Lervold going to hold back here. Oh, that's a wide run, though, for sure. When he gets up out onto the curbing, he's going to have to gather that car back up underneath him. Looks like he's just able to do it, but that's going to compromise his exit down the backstretch.
Yeah, and if they fight any more than this, Casey and Gibson are going to be right on top of things. Don't think he's going to be close enough to get an attack in here into the Casio Triangle. Yeah, that is a full half second behind. That'd be an absolutely unreasonable dive into this chicane. Oh, but maybe the dive is from Sherwood, Rachel, as he goes a little bit deep.
A little optimistic there, I think, but that was an interesting move. On the grass pass up the inside here. On board. As we look towards the 20 machine, being at level there, P3. We're on board with him, so we're looking towards the 20.
And it's 3 wide, as Casey was on the inside of them and just about made the move, but decided to back out at the last moment. Lervold on the inside of Sherwood, carries on, wants to try and do it around the outside of the entry to the S's. Nothing doing there. No change of position somehow in all of that, DJ.
I am absolutely amazed by that. I was screaming off mic when I saw Casey make that move down to the inside. Ridiculous stuff. Everybody getting their elbows out here as the limited passing opportunities, I think, are really forcing drivers to take creative ways to try to get on by.
So now Chad Dick is involved. This is a 5-way battle for second place. This is incredible stuff, but Lacombe continues to just plod away at the front. He is nowhere to be found, 16 seconds ahead by lap 6 of this event. And down into the braking of the hairpin, a few little pokes and prods, Rachel, but I don't see anybody able to make the pass. We come around to the spoon curve once more. And actually, what's even more amazing is behind this is Thomas Briggs is the next one back. He's got a ways to go, though. He's got 3 more seconds to make up. Lervold this time able to get by Sherwood through Spoon Curve. Oh, but a poor exit once again. DJ, it looks like Casey is under threat.
He is indeed. That's going to be Gibson trying to make the move on him. Chad Dick also getting interested in that combination. They're going to be in a nice little triangle as they dive down into 130R, able to get themselves sorted out. It's going to be Gibson, Dick, and Casey on.
Chad had something wrong there on that corner exit, lost 2 positions, but I'm sure Dick isn't complaining that Gibson isn't either. So he takes that Rainbow Machine into 4th. Can he now get onto the podium? Oh, and down to pit lane. That looks like Chad Dick, and that's not for any sort of penalty, DJ. I think this is a scheduled stop.
Yeah, it's a little bit early on here, I think, to be thinking about it, but it certainly is within the fuel window, I think, for Chad. He just wants to get himself back out into some clean air, maybe be able to run around and just put some hot laps down.
So the drivers have not only had to contend with the track itself, but obviously some fierce battles in this track. But Lervold, now that he's got the track position, can he start to run away from Sherwood? Took him a few laps to manage to get it, but clear air, DJ, could be just the thing the doctor ordered.
Yeah, it could indeed. If you're able to run in that clean air around here, not really as much as the aero wash to worry about necessarily in these Porsche Cup cars, but definitely a little bit of clean sailing in terms of not having to adjust your braking zone. But one driver who's still got some more work to do, that is Thomas Briggs, who's caught up to the back of Casey on.
Watching from on board, and that was very quick. He was 3 seconds back, I said, maybe about a lap and a half ago. Well, down to 0.2 of a second. Coming into Spoon Curve. Casey either defending or going for an attack, and a little wide in front of them. Sherwood uses that paved runoff on the AstroTurf, coming through Spoon and trying to see if he can go the long way around. That was ambitious from Thomas.
Very ambitious indeed, but there was a door open there, and so he certainly went for it. But good defense there from Chad Casey, just kind of doing the Max Verstappen move, pushing him out to the outside.
And asked if Lervold had the pace now they had clean air. That's a big yes. Look at how far ahead he is at just about a lap. So gone into the distance and trying to see if he could at least make a little inroads on the 19. We now see this become a fight for 3rd instead, and Thomas Briggs has got a good run. He's got the slipstream, but I don't think enough of a straightaway as they approach turn 1. And no, DJ, he's going to stay put.
Yeah, he's going to stay put. I think for at this point for Thomas Briggs, he knows he's got the speed, and it's just a matter of waiting for a high opportunity, a high percentage move to present itself to him. He doesn't want to try to force his way around here at all.
Certainly not. And coming through the S's, he's going to have to wait patiently. Not usually a place that you can pass. Probably going to see it maybe down into the hairpin, unless he's super aggressive into the first Degner and has a great run, which he does. And he's going to go for the right-hand side. Maybe he will try and make the move here. He's going to have to be extremely late on the brakes. Oh, he is, but he gets into the back of him. Somehow neither of them wreck.
Absolutely remarkable stuff. Good heads-up driving there from both Casey and Briggs. They are able to recover.
And, Thomas Briggs has been given a drive-through penalty. Apparently, the rule book states they are not allowed to start from pit lane without authorization. Well, his ploy, if he wanted to have some fun climbing through the field, has backfired in more ways than one. So he'll have to go through pit lane, give up a few positions now.
Yeah, indeed, he will. So we're going to have to really see what the pace is out of that number 4 machine. He will have to come down here, and that's going to break up a little bit of the battle. But don't worry, that battle between Gibson and Casey still very, very prescient right here.
Well, this puts the pressure off of Caisson and Gibson and allows them to fight. Is he still going to try and make the pass? He's going to try and make the pass. As ahead of them, they got some lap traffic. That is Lawrence, who's going to try and stay out of the way. Briggs eventually gets down into pit lane for his drive-through. Well, that was odd. I guess he just really, really wanted that spot. And he has now served it. There you see in the left-hand side of your screen. Still, Lawrence is not completely out of this group. Is he going to allow Gibson by? Yes, he is.
All right, so a nice little move there, getting off to the side, getting out of the way as they go around. And yeah, now this battle really between Gibson and Casey for 4th place position.
We had 6 cars at one point in this battle, and it has dwindled down to pretty much just these 2. And Gibson currently has the position with the track advantage. And he's got himself a clinger, though, for now, as Chad gets right up under that rear bumper. Rachel out of the second Degner. Let's see if he can at least get this 4th place away, even if he's no longer fighting for second.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully he'll be able to manage to do that. It's going to be tricky with how time's playing out, and this has definitely been one of our more controversial races, I think, so far. But he's in a position to get at least hold that possible podium position, if he can get there.
And we're hearing information from Briggs, a little bit of chatter with the stewards in the middle of the race, saying that he had a computer issue. So this wasn't his typical thing, apparently, of trying to start from the back to have some fun. He genuinely had a technical problem from what he's saying. We'll see what happens after the race, as the stewards do want to talk to him. But in the meantime, as we look at Briggs, well, he's still got some more fun on his hands, DJ. Now he's got to pass Iwata again and Benson again.
Exactly, and good news for Thomas Briggs is those two are in a little bit of a fight here as they go around. Whoa! Late send down to the inside there for Thomas Briggs, going 1 through 130R.
Man, not waiting around for anything. And Benson is up next. They've also got Stefan Uriadka in the 951. So the drivers have got themselves a little bit more side-by-side action, with Benson not the greatest of exit out of the Casio triangle. And there goes Thomas on through.
Yeah, he's going to see what he can do with that one, but he makes a move. It's tricky, because if he's had some sort of issue, race control do say there are policies in place regarding that, and things should happen in certain orders. It doesn't affect things now, unfortunately, but there's still the opportunity to make a good race out of this thing. It's a bit tumultuous, so there's recovery potential.
I'm just trying to collect myself after all that's been going on. We've had so many different types of drama in this race. And we come back to Benson. Now that he's been left by Briggs, he can focus forward on the 951. And he's going to take a little bit of a shallow line into the first of the Degners. DJ, I don't think that was going to be on in any stretch of the imagination, because I've only seen one of those moves even thought about, and even then it was risky.
Yeah, indeed. You really don't want to be trying to make that move into the Degners. Now, you can make it work down here into the hairpin if you are super aggressive. Obviously, one of the most famous examples of that, Kamui Kobayashi back in the day, sending that big old set down up to the inside. But coming through the Degners, they're just too fast of corners, Joe.
Well, now they head through the Spoon Curve, and they've caught up to the lap traffic we were talking about earlier. Lawrence, that puts Ariadka a little bit offline. Somehow Benson not able to get the run that he needs. Iwata's starting to approach after he lost a little bit of time earlier fighting with Briggs. And are we going to see Lawrence once again pull off to the side? Ooh, he's slow through 130R compared to them. And that checks up Stefan. Benson takes a little bit of a peek, but doesn't actually get the side-by-side down into the Casio Triangle. In fact, Rachel, it looked like he went a little deep into there.
Yeah, I think he did go a little deep, and it's not going to help him because going deep means you've entered the corner too fast, rather than backing the entry up and getting the exit fast. There's got a possible move coming on here, but just a quick aside, of course, when Kobayashi makes a big dive, insurance rates go up, so probably not the best example.
Exactly. And Iwata this time will get the pass done as Benson, instead of gaining one, loses one. They still remain 1, 2, 3 in line and still haven't overtaken Lawrence, our lapped car in the number 22. And I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do so here through the S's. Lawrence definitely a little bit off the racing line here on multiple turns, DJ. It hasn't hit the apex yet.
No, and that really can happen, Joe, if you get yourself off out of rhythm through one of the S's section. It's such an area of the track that really flows together in such a way. And if you try to correct after making a mistake, that's really what you're going to see as you go through the second, third, fourth part of the S's.
And are they getting another friend in there? Yeah, Chad Dick is catching up, and he started from 4th position. Was promoted to the lead early on, then suddenly went off in that first and second corner. Has managed to at least get back into the top 10. This is definitely a case, Rachel, where it's a never say die kind of race. You've got chances to make up positions no matter how many problems you've had. Is another pass there for Iwata on Ariadka.
Yeah, and when a race is as tumultuous as this, there's always the opportunity to make moves and to recover. You'd be surprised. The cars have been off this race. I think it was a mudding tournament.
As Chad Dick now goes on by Benson, so there's one more spot. And that's Smiley behind them in the 167. That's the black Porsche. That's not for position, so don't need to worry about him in and amongst this group for now.
Oh, Joe, Casion is around contact with John Gibson.
Oh, no. That was such a good battle that was brewing. Let's take a look at the replay. Was he trying to make a move here? It looked like he was coming up alongside him. Yeah, he was trying to make the pass, kind of moved in front a little bit, and then it looks like he got punted a little bit from behind there from that angle.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'd have to see the onboard here. This is going to be a good onboard from Gibson to kind of get an idea of this.
There was contact. Definitely looked like there was contact there.
Yeah, it's just in terms of putting the blame there a little bit. Casion came down a little bit early on that. I would have to say Gibson didn't check up enough. There's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B going on there.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. We'll see if the stewards do with us as well, though, because they get the final say. Meanwhile, oh, that's a bad place to let everybody by. And somehow they do. Lawrence eventually allowing the stream of drivers past. No change of position between Stefan, Chad, and Benson, Rachel.
Yeah, no, none at all there right now. They're staying in line here, trying to hold what they can and trying to get these positions forwards. I think everyone's a little bit scared of the track right now, actually, Joe. It's been really, really busy for them, and with everyone slipping and sliding still this deep into the race, I'd also be pretty nervous. So if there's an opportunity, I'd probably save my fight into the very end.
And let's not forget, DJ, we've hardly talked about it as we take a look at Lacombe. We got pit stops still. We have about 14 minutes left, so most of them should be happening within the next 4 Lacombe! Lacombe just spun off! He's into the barrier! It was a 26-second lead. Is that enough? As it was a light touch, he could get back going. This was supposed to be easily in his hands, DJ, and now suddenly he might give it away.
He might indeed. My goodness gracious, that gap coming down by the second here. Lacombe able to get himself back up and moving around the second part of the snake, but this was just an unforced error, Joe.
Oh, Rachel was just talking about it. Some of the drivers getting a little cautious because of the difficulty of the circuit today, causing so many problems. And there it is, Rachel. He touched the grass, and that sent him right into the tires.
Yeah, this place will always bite you, and I think he has probably got some damage there. I don't know if he'll be able to hold this lead. It might have been a light touch, but it will still have hurt the front end.
Yeah, if that splitter is damaged, and I'm looking at it here, he may have gotten away with it. I'm not seeing a whole lot. Yeah, it must be very, very minor. He's extremely lucky. It is down to 10 seconds, which it would still be an amazing gap at 13 laps into this race, DJ, but it was more than halved from what he had before.
Yeah, it was, and so we'll have to see what happens here. Obviously, pit stop cycle coming up relatively soon. John Gibson, Stacey Iwata, both taking their pit stops early on. I see Jack Stevenson in right now. Maybe be able to get a little bit of that damage repair banged out if he wants to.
So we jump back to Briggs. He's back up to fifth again. He's about 22 seconds behind the leader. Now, obviously, a bunch of that was cut down. About 13 of those seconds handed back because of the problems for Lacombe. But he's already chasing down Casion just in front of him. Oh, and that was a lot of curb from that green 379 coming through 170R there, Rachel. But he holds on to it, so I guess no harm, no foul.
Yeah, so far no harm, no foul, but he's got to keep very careful because these are the kind of mistakes we're seeing from everybody. Oh, he's putting in. So we have one pitter, and he is going to keep himself out there. A little bit tougher now with only one car. They'll not have quite as much of a force going down at the straight, but looking on board here with Robert Benson, 7th place, up towards Uradaka ahead of him through the Casio triangle here. Really important to get this right because the fastest exit you can get from that second corner, it really propels you out here. It doesn't matter because he's pitting.
So Benson elects that this is a good time in the midst of us watching his battle from on board. Lervold's back out in what looks like 4th place. Benson is in, and Casion was the other one that pitted. He's back out, both of them with equal pit stop times, Lervold and Casion. And it looks like Gibson does he have a pit stop? No, Gibson had a bit of a long pit stop, but he's finished with his. And he's back out in 9th. So not sure why he had an extra 9 seconds on his stop. We'll have to look into that. Looks like 7 seconds, excuse me. As we jump a little bit farther back and take a look at the fight here, DJ, between Steve Komatz and Jeff Lashway. This is now for 13th.
Indeed, and both of these drivers pitted early on here, remember, on lap 1 and 2 respectively, so I still anticipate that they'll owe us a pit stop, but a good battle out on track as it shaped up.
Yeah, we're missing about 6 or 7 drivers that need to come in for fuel and then return to the circuit. But boy, this has tightened up pretty significantly between this pair. Down through the rest of the S's. Will we see Komatz be patient enough to maybe give it a go down at the hairpin? Well, certainly not now, as he does a good job keeping that car from spinning across the track, Rachel, through Dunlop curve. And now we come back to Briggs once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Briggs has been one of those really important drivers we've seen in this one so far. He's had so much speed as he pits in here. The Dallas driver really is absolutely pushing things, and I'm really excited, I should say, to find out what he can do with this season, because he's just been a powerhouse here, and this recovery drive has been indicative of that speed. Imagine what he could have done if he decided on the grid.
Absolutely. And back to Gibson once again. Lacombe is in and out. Briggs is just starting his pit stop, and Sherwood was in just before him. So that's many of our top drivers taking their service. Looks like Lervold is able to go by quite easily, and Briggs is out in 3rd. So Briggs' pit stop is done, DJ, and he is going to be on the podium here, I think, legitimately.
Yeah, I think you're right, Joe. And that's a 9.9 second pit stop. That is, frankly, on the longer side compared to the drivers ahead of him in the form of Lervold and Lacombe. So he's going to be just fine. It's not like he's opting for a weird strategy here or something.
Okay, these final 10 minutes, and in spite of everything that's been happening to the four, he's still somehow looking at spraying the champagne. He's got about 4.5 seconds up to Lervold. I don't think that one's over. Randy, I don't think, has the pace compared to the number 4 here today. It's still 5 spots up as Randy sits from where he began in 7th place. And then somehow Mark Lacombe is still your leader in front of it all with about a 15-second lead as we watch them out of the hairpin. So, Rachel, I see one last car, I think Andrew McCune, that still needs to take a pit stop. Otherwise, it looks like everybody else is done.
I think they are, and this is going to be how we shape things up, I think, towards the end of this in terms of positions. Briggs to 3rd. What? Where did that come from? I mean, Lacombe's time as well, again, has widened. He's pulled 5 more seconds after his incident. That car's definitely not damaged.
Yeah, and that just goes to show that Mark really genuinely has had pace as well. So yes, he's been gifted quite a bit of his lead time in this race, but he's made up a bunch of it on his own as well. Meanwhile, down into Spoon Curve, we were watching, I believe that was McCune there for a moment, who still needs to take his stop. And the drivers just have to survive for only 7.5 more minutes. There is Andrew on your screen right now. So he's going to give up this 8th spot, most likely, DJ. Trying to see where he's going to come out. I think at least before 14th position.
Yeah, where I've got him relatively right now on my live timing and scoring is he'll be coming out somewhere in the vicinity of David Purdy and Robert Palmer right now. So that'll be around 13th, 14th place.
And finally, McCune is in. So a bunch behind him now start to inherit positions, including Benson here. So this was a battle a little bit earlier, but it is spread apart. Drivers can finally really focus on what they're doing instead of constantly tussling with their rivals. So Uriadka, they're in 8th now. Benson sitting in 9th, and Iwata in the 10th spot, Rachel. Iwata doesn't look too super far behind, though, as we hop on board with him and see what the number 2 machine can do to run down Robert.
Yeah, we do. And Iwata's had a really, really tumultuous race. The Canada West driver has been putting it in really fast lap times. Just some unfortunate on-track incidents have really pushed him back here. So let's see what he can do.
The lap times here are relatively long. It's over 2 minutes. So with these 6 minutes left that we see on the clock, this is going to be, I think, 3 to go. Yeah, because it's about a 2:03. And yeah, they are past the 6:09 mark, which would have been 3 laps. So Mark Lacombe getting the 3 to go this time by as we come back to Iwata still. And he's dropped off of the back of Benson. And instead, Benson is mildly closer to Stefan in the 9.51. It's about 0.6 difference between them, DJ.
Exactly. Not a whole lot of gap in there between the two. Trying to close it down here is Benson as they work their way through Spoon and plunging down the hill. Oh, that's not going to help the 71.
And Lervold's had a problem. He's off the podium. Briggs is into 2nd. This, I believe, was in or out of the Casio Triangle. And this definitely deserves a replay. He nearly speared it into the pit entry barrier. He's lucky that he missed that, but he didn't miss all of the barriers. He fell off to the left-hand side, wound up in the tires. Look at how close that was, Rachel.
Oh, that was insanely close. That could really have been much, much, much worse. He got away very, very luckily, just like McLean did. So hopefully that will be a benefit to him. Right now, the Ohio Valley driver, Jeff Ferguson, there coming out negative 2 as we give him the commentator's curse. And, well, that 7-up can got shaken.
Yeah, that was Ferguson. Another replay as the 23rd place car had a spin coming out of Degner 2. He sits down way far in the order. But to Iwata, still sitting in ninth, and oh, he's under attack. Whoa, and contact between himself and Benson as he chopped down. Once again, that looked a little too ambitious, almost exactly like what we saw, I think, on lap 1, with one of the drivers, DJ, just trying to stick his nose in where there was no space.
Yeah, I've got to throw a little bit of blame here on Robert Benson. Yes, that may look like a cutoff there from the 2 of Stacy Iwata, but there is no way that you're going to be able to get that move done and dusted coming up through the S's like that. A little bit over-aggressive.
Whew, wow, okay, 2 to go now as we watch our leader Lacombe go by. We are still not done with the dramas here today, and Benson naturally looks like he snagged a black flag from that one. So he's going to have to serve that essentially this time by or the next time, or else he's going to have a time penalty added to himself before this is done. So drivers have just about come to the end, and I think I'm looking up, and Andrew Smiley has been DQ'd from this race. I wonder if he hit the incident limit as he was well down the field himself. Oh no, Lervold's in the pits. He must have gotten too much damage. No, it's a black flag. He got too many incidents. Lervold has been given a drive-through.
Oh, that is not good for Lervold at all. That's really going to shake things up for his race. Oh, no one's getting out of this unscathed. It's Steve Comatas in P10. I'm dropping everything on the floor in my office, but this is, honestly, this is the Somme in race car form.
Everybody knows that's your cat's job to knock things off your desk. But anyways, as we watch them come around the final corner here, Lacombe going to get the white flag next time by. And Iwata here on screen instead of fighting Uriatka like we saw before. Now it's Komats behind him giving chase in that number 210. And yeah, I'm very curious, DJ, as to which of them has a 0x, if any, at the end of this race.
Well, Joe, with just as aggressive as we've been seeing these drivers push, I've got to think that if there is any driver that has a 0x, it's somebody who's doing pretty darn well for themselves, probably in the top 3 or so.
Well, it's not Lacombe, that's for sure, because remember, we saw his off, and we are getting information that nobody has managed to get a 0x in this race. But this man right here, Mark in the 19, only has 2 incidents. Not sure if anybody else is tied with him for that right now, but maybe today's race just came down to who had the fewest mistakes, who had the fewest incidents to be able to snag the win. It's not over yet, though, Rachel. He still has to make one more lap.
Yeah, he does, and one more lap could be too many. So I'm not going to say a word about him. Let's talk about another car, because I would hate to curse him again.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering, am I giving him the commentator's curse here by talking about this as he flies through the S's section one last time? And Benson is in pit lane. Looks like he's serving that black flag that I mentioned a little bit earlier. He goes a lap down. In fact, we only have 14 of the 25 starters still on the lead lap of this race. As expected, DJ, they've spread apart significantly.
Yeah, indeed, they really have, and that's just kind of the nature of Suzuka. It's very, very hard to follow around here, very hard to keep up that gap, and yeah, the top 3 right now separated by a whopping 27 seconds.
Well, just a few more corners to go for Mark. 20-second lead over Thomas Briggs. As fast as the 4 car has been, I don't think he's cutting that down in half a lap's time. And out of Spoon Curve, Mark Lacombe, as I mentioned, coming into this, he not only had the points lead, he won the previous race. And in fact, he's taken 3 out of the 4 wins so far this season. Nope, scratch that. I think 2 out of the 4 wins I'm seeing on the stat sheet. So make that 3 out of 5 as long as he navigates through the Casio triangle nice and smoothly into this last little braking zone, perfectly to the apex. The number 19 brings it out of the final corner and to the finish line to take victory here in Japan, DJ.
A fantastic drive from Mark Lacombe. Obviously, that one little bobble there catching him out, but really dominant stuff there outside of that one moment, leading this race and winning it by about 20 seconds.
After all that, our top three started in second, first, and fourth, respectively. So I would have thought it'd be a little bit more jumbled, but it seems like Briggs and Dick were able to keep from giving up here, as Chad is going to wind up on the podium after all. And then behind them is where you start to see some major jumps. Jason Sherwood up 6 positions to get himself into fourth. Same amount up for Casey back there to take a P5 here today. But this is David Purdy sitting in 10th. He's gained the most of anybody in this race. He qualified, he didn't qualify. He didn't set a time. So he gained 15 to finish in 10th position, Rachel.
Yeah, he really did. That was an insane race we had today. The track, I think, was the real winner out of everybody, because even though, yes, Mark Lacombe won and he put his nose in the barrier, for gosh's sake, even the winner crashed. Huh?
Yeah, that's... What a race today. This is going to be one we'll be talking about for a while, but let's head to the results, as Lacombe, as we mentioned, did take the win by a massive 20 seconds over Thomas Briggs. Chad Dick was P3 as Jason Sherwood was outside the podium. Chad Casey finished in 5th with John Gibson in 6th. Randy Lervold, perhaps the only car that finished where he started today, from 7th. Stefan Oriadka in 8th and Stacy Iwata in 9th. And as we mentioned, DJ the Hardest Charger, David Purdy in 10th.
Steve Kometz was down 6 on the day to come home in 11th, followed by Andrew McCune, Jeff Lashaway, and Robert Palmer, the last driver on the lead lap. After them, it was Bruce Fiobi, Jonathan Reber, Jack Stevenson, Robert Benson, Jeremy Lawrence, and James Amig, rounding out your top 20.
21st was Scott Kessel with Jeff Ferguson in 22nd, Freddie Lopez 23rd, with Andrew Smiley 24th, and Mike Sachs in 25th.
That takes us to our winner, Mark Lacombe. And I'm curious to hear what he has to say about this race after the adventures that he had, because, Mark, it was an amazing lead at the end at 20 seconds, but it's hard to believe it could have been even bigger because you actually had an off into the barriers. What happened there?
Hey, Joe. Thanks. Yeah. To be honest, I don't really know. I was just kind of going along, and that really took me by surprise. I think it was getting close to pit stops. Fuel was low, and back end just got loose on me there. Didn't really hurt anything, and so I got back going again.
And talk about the start as well, because after you lost that lead from what became de facto pole, were you kind of kicking yourself a little bit?
I think for a while I was trying to figure out what happened, because I know Thomas normally takes his time coming to grid, so I was just sort of watching, waiting for Thomas, and then next thing I know, the lights are green. So yeah, I didn't get a very good start, so I just thought, well, all right, I'll just follow along for a while. So it's just too bad that Scott and Chad had a little bit of a tangle there on that second lap, but that's the way it goes sometimes.
Absolutely. We saw so many drivers have problems here. What do you think it was about this track that had many find themselves falling off the boat, essentially?
Yeah, I think that the track temperature kept going up and up and up, and so this car is really hard to drive when the tires don't have a lot of grip. And so there was lots of times where I had some opposite lock going just to stay on track. So it's a difficult track and a difficult car. So it's just a tough one.
Well, it was impressive to see you take what I think is win number 3, if I'm seeing the stats correctly. Is there anybody you want to thank that helped make this win possible?
Yeah, I got to thank my Matrix teammates, because I was struggling early on at this track trying to even stay on it. So my buddy Lyle and Garrett, they really helped me find the setup and find some pace. So I appreciate that. My wife, Debbie, my sponsor, Ford All Motorsports, and PCA Sim Racing, and you guys at Podium, you did a great job.
That was Mark Lacombe, our winner here today for race number 5, while DJ has caught up with Thomas Briggs, who had a little bit of everything thrown his way.
Thomas Briggs, we're going to have to start calling you the yo-yo man coming up and down the field there. Talk me through that one.
I had iRacing would not let me grid up. This grid button was red, and I ended up getting a penalty for an unauthorized pit lane start. I understand it's the rules, but I think we can definitely look back and improve on what has happened there. But it was a crazy race. So many emotions were going through my head.
Well, talk to me about the charge there. I mean, were you in full attack mode going through, or was there a little bit of calmness that you were able to exhibit and just kind of take the pieces where you could?
I really wanted to be calm, but I don't like being calm, so I just had to push. But I did know I wasn't gonna be able to take the win, so I did have to play pretty conservative towards the end.
Well, that conservation certainly helped you out. Next week, we head to Knock Hill in the tight and twisty conditions there. How do you think that's going to go for you?
I think it should work out well. I really like the small, bumpy, twisty tracks. I've done well there. Knock Hill's a new circuit for me, though, so it should be fun.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world there, Thomas. Is there anybody you'd like to thank, though, for the run today?
Yes, I'd like to thank my dad for keeping an eye on the fuel and keeping me up on the information I needed to know.
Well, fantastic. That was Thomas Briggs, your second place finisher here today. And Rachel, I think you've caught up with Chad Dick.
I certainly have, Chad. A busy race today. Going up only one position seems to be a fairly relaxing race, but I know you had a lot of stuff going on, especially early. Tell me about the race.
Yeah, that was an active 40 minutes for sure. I think you said that last week, and I would definitely agree that this week was a hell of a lot busier. But happy to be able to recover a podium spot. It was unfortunate, the two incidents that slowed me up. They were all friendly fire incidents because those are guys in Zone 1 that I raced with regularly, and we just had some unfortunate mishaps with cold tires on a hot track or, slightly missing braking points and turn-ins. But I have to say that, the respectfulness to hold your binders and let people back on track and communication to try and get around otherwise was pretty good tonight, and I think that's really what allowed me to recover.
It certainly seemed that way. This is going to be helpful, of course, to the points. Third place, it puts you in there. Are you hopeful for a good result towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I race week to week, but I'm also playing the long game. So, I really strive to be consistent as best as I can. And so I'm pleased to be talking to you again. It's unfortunate I couldn't have put a little more pressure on Mark. I thought I had a really good start, and I thought I was going to be able to give him a run for his money for the race. So we'll have to save that for another day. But all in all, I love this track. This is by far and away my favorite. It tests every bit of your skill. I think it showed that tonight. I'm going to be so interested to watch the next three races because you put more pace on this track and interesting things can happen.
Yeah, said again. Well, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank before we let you go?
Well, the usual. Chris Braun was in my ear, so he helped keep me calm in those incidents. I'd say all my Zone 1 mates, again, for showing some respect on the track and coordinating overtakes. I have a belated thanks for last week. I forgot to thank Jared Roadheaver for his amazing track walk at Summit that also helped me back then, so I need to say thank you to him. And then this week's special help came from Chris Pais, who was nice enough the other night to stay up late and draw me a track map of the hairpin and all the different lines one can take through there. And that really, really helped me. So even though I don't think I hit any of them today, at least I knew what I was supposed to do, even if I couldn't execute it. So again, it sort of takes a village here. I really am enjoying racing with everybody here. And now I got to figure out how to come down off the adrenaline rush so I can get some sleep tonight.
Probably go find a nice book to read or something. Thanks for joining us, Chad Dick, coming home today in third.
Thanks, Rachel.
And that'll wrap up our interviews for the challenge class, but we have more racing to come. It's the sport class up next here at Suzuka. Stick around for more PCA Sim Racing Series 8.
Side by side through the corner. This is for the win.
goes around the outside, but it's not enough.
And hunting for a way by it.
Hollander's going to come back at him. It's going to be a race to the line. Does he have enough? Welcome back to Suzuka International Racing Course here for race 5 of the PCA Sim Racing Series 8. This is the sport class that we are getting ready to watch, and Jake Geiger has the provisional pole here on the first time lap around. They've already started into the qualifying, DJ, and I don't know how many of them watched that last race, but I know if I was, I'd be thinking, okay, keep the car on the track and you're going to get a good result.
Yeah, exactly. I think that is going to be the big talking point coming into this race. It has to be all about making sure everything is together, not running the car wide, and running a clean race. That has got to be the way forward.
Well, so far, the way forward for our drivers of qualifying is try to get it right up to the edge of the circuit. Get as much as you can. It's a full 6/10 between P1 and P2 on that first time around. And this is a much bigger field as well, Rachel, so drivers will have even more cars to watch out for. I guess the good news is it is such a long lap around here. Yes, it's a big field, but hopefully it shouldn't be too great of a problem like we would have maybe seen, say, at Summit Point.
I think so. It's a big track, so there's room for a lot of people, but as we've seen already, it only takes 2 to tango, and boy did they tango a lot. So sports are going to have to be laid a little bit more carefully. I do hope they watched.
Yeah, there's a lot of toes that got stepped on in that dance, but this time around, dancing his way through the field, Jake Geiger has got himself an even quicker time. Christopher Cook now overtakes Enrico Gregorato for that front row spot. He's closer, but still an impressive 3/10 away. Fricky is able to go into 4th as Yurtza just popped into 5th himself. So it's all shuffling around, DJ, and I see about 6 drivers that still need a time.
Yeah, Balvier, Schultz, Bergzona, Mungia, Sampson, and Nikolai, they're looking like the only drivers that still need to be able to put down those times. Looks like Will Kelly able to bump his way up into P8. I see Antonio De Silva jumping up into P23, so still about 2.5 minutes here to play, or thereabouts. Plenty of time for these drivers to be able to put themselves on the board.
Unfortunately for Boccieri, his second lap got deleted, so he's got to hustle on this last one because he's only had one timed lap at this stage, and that put him down in 21st. That seems a little low. And look at how much steering lock is needed for that tight little hairpin, and then sends it back around high speed through the longhand sweeper up towards Spoon. And looks like Jake Geiger did not finish his third lap, so he only got his 2 in. But Christopher Cook is still out there, Rachel. So I think this pole is still up for grabs.
Yeah, very much up for grabs still, of course. And it's going to be interesting to see who we get actually in this position, because I think we'll have a good advantage. We've seen whoever's in the lead with the clean air. It's really important. Clean air, huge at Suzuka. So you've got a clean air, you can really manage how slippery this track is. So that will be hugely important. Otherwise, getting that pit stop in the right timing to put yourself in clean air then will be a huge benefit.
He's going to abandon that last lap. Greg Rotto comes by. 2:02.977 will be a faster lap, but not a higher starting position. He stays in third. Fricky does not improve, has his lap deleted. And I see guys like Spence and Kelly coming around to finish their laps. So just a couple more able to complete their qualifying. As we saw last time, it really comes down to the line because of how long the laps are around here. Spence doesn't go any quicker. Kelly is going to be the next one up in the 8 machine, and he is going to complete the lap. So that 2:03.444, which is good enough for 8th, does not improve. He gets it deleted, DJ. So I'm not sure we have too many left that can do anything in this session.
No, one of the last to be able to do it was Randy Teague, who was able to bump his way up to 22nd at the moment. So that's a good lap there for Randy. Waiting to see now a couple drivers coming out of the final corner. Bastieri, I don't think that's going to be an improvement there for Sebastiano.
Yeah, he was the last one able to set a time. Everybody else is not close enough. So that sends us to our starting grid. Jake Geiger has put it on the pole, carrying on his good speed from Summit Point. Christopher Cook starts from second, and Enrico Gregorato will be third. Then it's Kim Fricky on the outside of row 2 with Peter Yurtza in 5th and Trip Starkey in the 6th spot. Adam Spence will start 7th. Will Kelly will start 8th, and Anthony Solero 9th, as Avijit Barua will start in 10th. DJ?
It's going to be Joseph Evers lining up in 11th, followed by David Krutzler. Gregory Sanson and Patrick Adamczyk will line up 14th. Adam Gerling lines up 15th, followed by Gregory Gorell, with Sebastiano Ballestieri there unable to improve on that 17th place position. Robert Walton will be 18th, with Carl Boccieri 19th, and Jeff Williams rounding out your top 20.
21st tonight will be David Kaufman with Randy Teague in 22nd, Nick Melarango in 23rd, David Palmer in 24th, or more 25th with Adam Holland in 26th. 27th is Antonio De Silva with Chris Pippin in 28th, Andrew Hillman 29th, and Ryan McGee in 30th.
Kevin Schultz starts 31st. Pete Kummer in 32nd, with Preston in 33rd. As the green flag is out, there is the last of our starting fields, and a few of them off the line pretty poorly, including the likes of Schultz. But up at the front of the field, as they come into turns 1 and 2, top 5 are starting to try to get into line. Otherwise, behind them, it is an absolute traffic jam. A lot of side-by-side, DJ, and only one spin that I can see way in the background at the very back of the field.
Yeah, and I believe that is Frost and maybe Balbier that had a little bit of a problem. Hearing a couple of more drivers having a problem there, as we've got Williams having a problem, Kaufman, Gorell, Moore, a couple of drivers having problems on those cold tires coming up through the S's.
Yeah, that was some contact between Williams and the 517 and Palmer, who got into him, and they just collected a couple other cars that could not avoid, with everything so packed together here at the start of this race. Out of the Degners, it is Geiger leading Gregorato. So unlike last time, our pole sitter will retain the lead after the start. They head through the hairpin for the first time in anger here in the sport class, and I'm not seeing any attacks from those behind Rachel, so I wonder if they're thinking time to try and look long-term in this race.
I think looking long-term would be the smart choice here, so we'll have to see how they do it. But it is, for now, seeming as though we've got things straightened out in the meanwhile, although still plenty of lap for this to go, interestingly.
Yeah, they've still got to go through 130R and into the Casio Triangle, which isn't always kind to those who make even the tiniest of errors in this race. Already seen a black flag being given out to Ward Preston for an incident there on the first lap. So he'll have to serve that. He's already way down in, I believe, 29th. Coming into the braking for the Casio Triangle. And you have to go all the way back to Adamczyk and Gerling for any sort of battle. Otherwise, very single file, DJ. So maybe they were watching a little bit of that last race.
Yeah, maybe indeed they were. I think a lot of drivers here just trying to back off a little bit, be a little bit less aggressive than normal. They really don't want to find themselves into a bad position here early on in this race.
Jumping down as we got a little bit of a fight, and whoa, somebody in the background way off the course there. That is Melarano there in the number 100, who manages to return without any sort of incident, thankfully, but leading this little pack. That's Adamczyk ahead of Gerling, Boccieri, and Ballastieri in there vying for 14th. Rachel?
Yeah, it is, as they run across the track here. And good pack of cars with Samson, Adamczyk, Gerling, Boccieri, Ballastieri. These guys are all super fast, so we'll see what they can do. They're all super careful and very respectful drivers too. So anything we see here is likely going to be a product, I think, of this racetrack. But onboarded Cook here, the Intermountain region driver, looking up towards Gregorato and Geiger. I'll lead it, Geiger. He is not pulling a big gap yet, but he's got a solid one.
Had an incident with Joseph Evers. Don't need to go to it. He spun in the Degner corners on his own, I believe. Can't confirm, but it looked like it was a solo incident. And there was a big look to the inside from Cook. And Gregorato is going to have to really watch those mirrors, DJ, because that was an ambitious move.
Yeah, I think Christopher Cook here definitely looking to try to take advantage, poking his nose out way of the draft there a little bit, but he's going to gain back up, going down into 130R. Good job there. He's able to gain in a little bit more time. Not quite close enough to be able to get a move going down into the Casio Triangle, but maybe he can set him up down the front straight.
He's close, but not sure that that's close enough. Yeah, that's just not a good enough exit there. So breathing a sigh of relief, and Rico will be able to at least retain that second position for lap 3, at least the start of it. And behind them, you can see that is a much tidier line than what we witnessed all through the challenge class. These drivers really looking forward, and such a stark contrast to what we saw in the first couple races, where they had a bit of messy starts here in the sport class. But always glad to see when drivers kind of learn and grow, and that's kind of the point of this league as well, Rachel, is to be a learning tool for the drivers.
Yeah, it really is, and I like seeing when they actually do take advantage of that and we see a good change. But, you know, the race will evolve over time, and so will the drivers. As the series goes on and they gain more experience. This is only the second tier, let's not forget. So they're still finding that experience. They've now found some speed. Now it's time to find some racecraft.
Down into the Degners as leading this tiny little group. That is Yurtza, with Spence being chased by Solero and Starkey. So that's a battle for 6, hitting the hairpin once again. And mighty close to the back of Spence. Solero looking very strong on the brakes, but not so good on the throttle, DJ, as he gives away a lot of time.
No, it looks like he ran wide a little bit there at the apex, maybe trying to carry a little bit more momentum in, looking for a crossover there, but just not allowed the room to do it. And so that's going to back him up a little bit more. And as we're really seeing throughout this entire field, you've got to be careful if you're too aggressive going ahead, as you could really open yourself up to an attack from behind.
But shockingly, the attacks from behind have been few and far between at this stage, especially compared to what we saw last time out. Granted, this track is kind of known for being difficult to pass a lot of times, especially in higher downforce cars, as we watch them break into the triangle once again. This time it looks like Solero's trying to square off that exit. It's decent, Rachel. I don't know that it's really going to get him much, though, coming down to turn 1.
No, not at this stage, I don't think, because Solero in a big train of cars here, not going to be really time to make anything happen at the moment, but doesn't mean it won't be opening up as this race goes on, and he will have that chance. He'll just have to be patient, I think.
So Kaufman is into pit lane, and I'm not sure that this one is scheduled. Double checking. No, he's got a black flag, so I'm not sure if that's incident limit or if... no, he was given a black flag by the stewards. I'm seeing it now. So that is from the 808s. For the 808 having to come in, get a stop and go, get back out, and he'll fall well down the field. Continue to watch Solero now as we jump a little bit ahead of him instead to Cook in third, still wanting second place, DJ, and he's been hovering at about this distance. I've been noticing every time I look over, it's about 0.3 of a second between himself and the 7 car.
Yeah, indeed. And he's looked a little bit faster through the middle sectors on the lap, not exactly able to get full speed down when it counts and when he needs to do it. You see him there searching around a little bit, trying to fill the rear view mirrors of Gregorato, just trying to find what he can get.
Well, any little mistake from that 7 is certainly going to open the door. And from what we saw from Chris on that first lap, he's not going to wait around for another opportunity, maybe like this one, because there was some wheel spin from the 7 car that time. So the 47, but he gets chopped off as Gregorato drifts back to the racing line. So it was a close one there, Rachel, but maybe he'll have to size it up another time.
It was worth a look, but I don't think it was going to be an opportunity he could really take advantage of too firmly, unfortunately. But he keeps the car in one piece, he keeps it moving, which is what matters.
On to the front stretch once again, starting lap 5. And, Yurtsa's got a good run here behind them. Look at that as they weave a little bit in the background. That's for Kelly's 5th position. We hop on board with the 54 looking up ahead, and he's going to stick his nose in, but can't quite make the pass. Certainly thinking about it. Spence had to do the same with Solero, who also tried to go by, but around the outside instead. So they all 4 stay in position. And it's looking like the difficulty in passing is going to be a major feature of this race today, DJ. And in fact, there's another little peek from Yurtsa, just maybe showing his nose through the S's, but doubtful a serious attempt.
No, and I think what you're going to see here, Joe, is that the competition earlier about maybe trying to get that overtake down into the hairpin, maybe that's the area that's really going to start presenting itself to you. Maybe trying to get a little bit of a move through Spoon, as it looks like all of these drivers have the standard overtaking opportunities going down into Casio and going down into turn 1, seeming to be covered off.
Impressively in this race, we've had, I believe, all 37 of the 38 drivers that started still out on track. We've only lost Bob Moore. Not exactly sure what caused it, but those who had incidents have either taken their spare car or were able to get a little bit of repairs and return to the track. But look at the sandwich that Solero is in now. After being on the attack from Spence, that's Trip Starkey that we ride on board with now, Rachel, who is very close in the Spoon curve. Looks like he dropped a bit here down the backstretch toward 130R, though.
Yeah, I think he dropped a little bit. I'm not sure where that was, what specific corner, but he's trying to find something. I think he's pushed a little bit too hard, and it's actually just cost him a little bit on those corner exits, which is what everyone seems to be doing here. Everyone I've seen in terms of making mistakes has been overdriving the entry on Suzuka.
Oh, Yurtsa has not overdriven the entry. He's driven well on the exit instead, and once again is going to try and fight Kelly for it. Kelly does not go to the inside. But in the background, we did see Spence go a little bit defensive down into turn 1. Solero won't be able to take it. Neither will Yurtsa either. So this is staying put. But also I'm noticing, DJ, they're getting some more friends. So we already know that Starkey's in there. Avijit Barua has now joined, and now Gregory Sampson as well.
Yeah, it's really starting to look a little bit here like Will Kelly is the cork in the bottle holding everything up. And I'm wondering when we're going to start to see a little bit of frustration potentially out of Peter Yurtsa if he really starts to push himself ahead and wants to get ahead and maybe make a lower percentage move here to just try to get on by, as it looks like he's being held up.
Oh, and there was a big mistake right there from Kelly. He's going to be on the left-hand side, though. And this is going to be tough to try and make the pass. They almost come together. Just a brush between the fenders, but Yurtsa has to go wide. Spence says, thank you very much. Maybe I can get a spot instead. No, they carry it on. What an exit from Peter here, Rachel. He's going to be able to get the launch. Now he's got the inside, but it'll be the outside for Spoon.
Oh, beautiful setup to the cornering there as Spence here looking from the behind. looking to try and get a good run. He's got a great run through the corner here. This is really important. Can he keep this up to the second part of the corner? He's got a good one as well. This will set him up well for the draft here. Coming up towards the run for 130R as he's going to be in the sling here. This could be huge.
Kelly with an awful exit, and now Spence taking advantage. He is through, so 2 positions in 1 lap. No, he's not done yet. Here comes Will Kelly right back at it from around the outside of 130R. The inside now given to him. Down into the braking, sends it in deep, and Spence looks like maybe he raised the white flag on that one a little early, DJ, to make sure they both got through the corner.
Yeah, that's the sense I got there. A little bit discretion proving the better part of valor. You don't want to bend the car. There's still about 30 minutes left to go in this race. Plenty of time.
Ooh, when did Cook get this position? Was that just now? I'm trying to check and see, because he was behind Gregorado earlier. He took it down the backstretch. A great exit out of Spoon Curve. And the 47, who's been trying since the beginning of this race, finally gets P2, Rachel.
Oh, he does, and beautifully done there, of course. Easily got it through and got into a fantastic spot here for this one. The draft pass is really good down this straight here, but Cook is looking for Geiger. He really wants to get involved in this.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got a little better speed than Jake, and if he can try and run him down a little bit. Meanwhile, behind them, this is the battle for 5th. Yurtsa still ahead of Kelly, Spence, and Solero. Yurtsa having recently overtaken that spot, but Solero trying to regroup, see if he could do some of the same. Nobody able to make the pass. And, very close moments there as they accordion together. Thankfully, no contact between them. Almost looked like Spence maybe could have gotten a little better exit there, DJ.
Yeah, I think he was a little bit too focused there on defense and not focused enough on the road up ahead of him. They all concertina down here into Spoon. It's now going to be a matter of who can get the good run off the corner.
Doesn't look like Will Kelly's going to get the good run, unfortunately. He tires once again, just spooling up and spinning out, coming off of Spoon Curve. That allows Peter Yurtsa to stretch away, but Adam Spence doesn't look all that much closer behind them. Sampson is now coming into the turn just behind Barua, but even in lesser downforce cars, it seems, it's still tough to try and stay close behind through 130R, Rachel.
Yeah, really is, and this is what I mean about the clean air. Clean air for this car is so important. With no downforce, no ABS, and no traction control, you've got a lot of wing, but it's also a GT car, you've got to remember still. So it doesn't, that got super close to 1, as someone's going to get off the track here, I think, unless they hold this one through 1 and 2. See, the problem with 1 and 2 is 1 is wide. It actually challenges you to go in 2 wide. The exit of 2, however, is 1 wide, which is a problem. But no, these cars, being GT cars, all the downforce is really on top of the vehicle. So when you get that dirty F car in front of you, it will really throw off your ability to turn.
Yeah, that was Spence in the battle with Solero, and thankfully they came out the other side. But Solero still not able to get the spot that he's been wanting, which is 7th there from the 055. He's been trying all different ways. He's been looking at a few different corners, but none of them have allowed him to actually make the overtake stick. Now, coming out of the Degners, doesn't look like he's all that close, and behind them, somebody's spinning. That was Sampson. Oh, he almost backed into the racing line. Thankfully, he stopped before he got there, but he hit the wall and now, boy, it's all kicking off as suddenly we go side by side between Yurtsa and Kelly. Somehow, Will has gotten a better exit than Peter. Peter's going to fend him off, DJ, and they're going to stay in 5th and 6th.
Oh, but look at Adam Spence there behind, trying to take a little bit of an inside run through Spoon. Now, that may compromise his exit ever so slightly, and indeed, it looks like it's going to go back to advantage here for Peter Yurtsa, but a very, very heads-up opportunity there for Adam Spence.
So they get ready to break for 130R once again. Oh, very good run from Spence. He could get aggressive on Kelly if he wants to, but he does not. He holds back. Kelly, though, overshoots the corner. Kelly is way off, and that's going to be a slowdown penalty for the 8 machine. He dutifully pulls off to the left-hand side, Rachel, to serve it.
Yeah, I think he knew he had that one there, so terrible place to have it happen, but get it out of the way.
So cost him 2 spots. Solero goes by. He wants one more on Spence. And there was a little poke down to the rear end with Trip Starkey thinking maybe he could demote Kelly. One more, nothing doing. And this has been quite the train here, DJ. This has been all the action for much of this race. Yes, we've had the battle for second and third a little bit earlier, but that's really petered out. Well, this just rages on.
Yeah, this is really where the meat of all of this is. We're at a little bit of a simmer up ahead between Cook and Gregorato, and Geiger only about 2 seconds up the way from them. But further down in this mid-pack, it is far more aggressive. It is far more engaged.
Down through the Degners, and Solero still kind of stuck in amongst this group. We check in on Boccieri. Remember, he qualified pretty far down the order. Well, he's managed to get up to 14th. That's a gain of 5 from his P19 on the grid. And he's got one more up front that could offer a good chance. That's Adam Gerling just in front of him. And I think as soon as we stepped away, we had a change between Kelly and Solero, maybe? Oh, no, it was Spence and Solero. Spence finally made a mistake in the Degners, so Anthony is now through.
Yeah, he made it through there pretty easily. A mistake in the Degners is super easy. You will lose a lot of time, so took good advantage, and he has a good spot there before he gets to quite possibly the faster second half of the lap.
Let's take a look here, see if we can find it. So there's Spence just in front. Yeah, a lot of curb. That rear bumper bouncing around. Unfortunately, Porsches are not supposed to twerk. Meanwhile, oh, we've had an incident. Another off for Spence. Has he overcooked the tires? Because he went too deep down into the Casio triangle and gave up yet more positions, DJ.
Yeah, that's going to bump him down between below Will Kelly here, and I really think here that you are right. Adam Spence may have just used up a little bit of his stuff. He's going to try to fight back a little bit there on Will Kelly, but we can ride on board with Spence. We'll see exactly what happened.
So here's the side-by-side action into the hairpin and able to get by. So that was the second half of that incident after we saw him go off through the Degners, and then it was into the Casio triangle that he just blew the corner completely and found himself in the runoff, much like we saw with Kelly before. So both of them, unfortunately, susceptible to errors here today. We can see the battle still rolls on. There's still got some drivers trying to sort out those top 10 positions. I do want to give a quick mention, though, that Gregorato has not let Cook run away. It is about 0.8 of a second up the road to P2 as we hop on board with Enrico here, Rachel. So yeah, he's not within striking range, but Chris can't relax.
No, he can't, and that range is definitely close enough to have something going on. So when you can still see him at Suzuki, you've still got opportunity. A small mistake, and let's be honest, mistakes are easy here. A small mistake will give you that chance.
Into 130R. Geiger's still our leader as well. That's a gap of about 2.5 seconds. And there he's caught a little flash of his black car at the front of this group as he came into the chicane ahead of second and third. But it's not a huge distance over them. He also has to keep himself a little honest, a little focused here so that he doesn't lose the spot or lose his gap that he's pulled, because that could easily go away as well. But the top three just teasing us at this stage. Ooh, we might want to go back to Solero, and here he is on screen. That's Peter in the 54, doesn't defend, lets him have the inside. Solero is a bit on fire today in that yellow car, DJ. He is now up to 5th.
He is up 4 positions on the day and doing everything very calm, cool, and collected. Being very, very smart about it, not making low percentage moves, just waiting for the door to open and then taking full advantage when it opens.
Looks like we may have had our first scheduled stop. No, it looks like that is Robert Walton. He had a 9.3 second stop. Barua, though, joins him and will return in 22nd position as we continue to watch Anthony's bright yellow number 34 Now that he's made it to the front of this pack, what is he going to do with it? He's got 4 seconds to get to Kim Fricke in the 4th position. Oh, is that Fricke right there that's off? That was Kim Fricke.
I'll tell you what happened to him as soon as we got a replay up for this one, because that's pretty huge from 4th place for him. And it was, I believe, we're going to see on the replay, it's the Degner. Degner strikes again. This happens. Look at him get a little bit here. Through he comes. Little bit too wide. And off he goes with a big slam there. That could be problematic. Okay, that's even more problematic. Yeah, that ain't going to buff out either time.
Yeah, I don't know if they have IHOPs over in Japan, but he definitely pancaked the side of that car. As we come back to the battle once again between Kelly and Yurtsa. This is for 5th position now that they've each inherited one from the spin that we just saw from Fricke. A little wide there onto the curve from Peter, but he keeps it together. No, he doesn't. He goes too deep, and he's going to take the center line through the escape road, in fact, completely through the gravel and back to the track, but all the positions just dance away from him.
Yeah, indeed, they do there. So that's going to demote him all the way down to 8th place, and he's going to have about a 3-second gap when everything is said and done in between himself and Trip Starkey in that battle up ahead of him. So that corner could not have gone any worse for him.
Melorano on board with him. This guy up from 11 spots, 23rd position on the grid in the 100. And he's got a couple more that could maybe come into his grasp here. That's Gerling and Boccieri in front of him. I see Fricke in pit lane probably having to get those repairs made. It looks like Balistieri also in pit lane. So as we come down to the end of the pit window, we'll see more and more start to do so, and that could shuffle things around. Right now, trying to shuffle his way past Gerling. Melorano, Rachel, has definitely caught the back of the 19.
Yeah, he really has. Fantastic positioning for him. And it's going to be one that will help him move forwards here, because Gerling's right there ahead of him. And just in front of that is, of course, Boccieri. That group is very, very close together. 2 seconds between them. So he has an opportunity to jump 2 spots here, and that would actually push him all the way up into 10th. So the top 10 result is in his grasp.
Just fantastic race out there today. If he can just keep it going for 15 more minutes. And we head a little bit in front of them. Back to Spence once more. He's been getting his money's worth out of this broadcast as he continues to give us lots of action. Hasn't been a perfect race. Had his little bit of an off into both the Degners and then later into the Casio Triangle. But recovering into 6th. He's not letting it slow him down. Up in front of them, that orange car is a lapped one. That's Kevin Schultz. And in fact, he just went off track. And he's actually going to spin into the barrier. So poor Kevin Schultz, unfortunately, is going to disappear from the cameras pretty quickly.
And Joe, he had a little bit of a bobble there going down to the Casio Triangle, and that put Anthony Solero on the back foot. He bobbled a little bit. Will Kelly thought for a second about having a little bit of an overtake there on him, but had to back off a little bit and stay in line.
Christopher Cook is in and out. So fresh set of boots, and Chris is, well, not a fresh set of boots, I guess a fresh set of fuel inside that 47, and he returns in 12th position, but he has clear air, Rachel, so this might actually not be a bad call.
No, clear air will be a huge call for him. I think that'll be a major advantage, so I'll have to keep our eyes on this one to see how he unfolds, but the clean air is big at Suzuka.
Yeah, it could help him get the pace that he needs to just pull away from Gregorato. We don't know if Enrico been using the slipstream a little bit to try and hold on to his coattails as down into the braking. And this means this is now for the podium, but it'll slot back to the battle for 4th once they take their stops, theoretically at least, as long as nothing goes wrong with Cook or the other 2 in front of them. Down into the braking, Solero's got the spot, but he hasn't been able to rest easy. Well, now he will, because Kelly goes off.
and just misjudged the braking zone there, Joe. I don't think he was trying to dive up the inside. It looked like he was trying to take a little bit of a wider line into the entry to Spoon, but just miscalculated it, locked up that right front, and that sent him around. He's now going to find himself directly ahead of the Zebra machine of Patrick Adamczyk.
Yep, climbing up the hill. Looks like that one just going to slip through his fingers. Kelly gets a mirror full of Adamczyk, who is hoping to try and make the pass in a 130R and then decides against it. Thankfully, that was from way, way far back. Meanwhile, looking at the likes of Boccieri, Gerling, and Melorano, they've also got Chris Cook. Whoa. Well, Chris Cook clearly has much better pace, because I just mentioned that he had clear air, and thankfully he's going to get it again, Rachel, because there goes Melorano into pit lane to take his stop. So Chris will still have the open air in front of him. Oh, and maybe open air in front of Gerling? No, he thought about it, Rachel, but Boccieri slams the door shut.
Yeah, he does, and Boccieri is a very wily driver when it comes to this sort of action, so if anyone can control his position and can maintain it, it'll be Ballestieri. That guy is very, very good at the defensive posture, but it's going to be if he's going to try and make an issue with it is the problem.
See a few more taking service. Looks like Andrew Hillman has come in. Peter Kummer, Mungia is in. Craig Smith, I believe. No, Craig Smith stays out, it looks like, so he will carry on. In front of it all, our leader, Jake Geiger, probably going to be in at least next lap, as we're down to less than 12 minutes left to go. There he is right there. Still at only 4.3 seconds ahead of Gregorado. This has been a much closer race here tonight, DJ, in the sport class and the challenge class, but that's kind of telling when a 4.5 second gap is the closer race.
Yeah, indeed. It really is telling of just how dominant of a performance Mark Lacombe put up last time out in the round. As we watch the drivers here working their way around, it does look like Geiger's going to come on in pit lane.
Gregorado follows, and we got to wait a while before we get to Solero, the next one back. But remember, Chris Cook has already pitted, and he's starting to catch the back of those who have not pitted, Gerling and Boccieri. So he might actually be held up a little bit here at the very end of this crossover in the pit cycle. Yeah, and there you see the bright blue car. That is the one that needs to be running fast laps right now, and he's trying to find an opening to get by. Now he has been unleashed. Oh, Solero doesn't pit, so he's going to go an extra time by. Geiger is out. Gregorado is out. Cook is flying down, but he's lost out. Gregorado, Rachel, has jumped him in the pit stops.
That's what he needed to do and exactly what he wanted to have happen, but it's not exactly what Ciliero wanted to see. Oh, that is good timing by Gregorado.
So now we got to wait for Solero to take a stop. Looks like Teague and De Silva are in, and Craig Smith and Joseph Evers, the last two that need fuel to finish out the strategy calls for today. Amazing stuff from that 34, especially because, he was battling that whole time, DJ. I didn't really see him look like he's trying to save fuel. So very much twinkle toes out there today.
Indeed. Well, it's relatively easy to save fuel around here at Suzuka. But it's a different way of saving fuel. It's not like holding up behind in the draft at, say, a Daytona or something like that. What you're able to do is breathe the throttle a little bit through some of the faster corners around here, coming up through the snake, going around Spoon right here, 130R. It's just those super, super fast sweepers that you can just lift off the throttle by about maybe 10%. Keep up your momentum and be able to save just that little bit of fuel that way.
Well, into 130R, I'd be absolutely shocked if he managed to go past again. I don't think he'll be able to do that. That'll be one of the longest stints I think we've ever seen here in the PCA. And yep, there he goes. Now he is into pit lane. So podium should once again be Geiger, Gregorado, and Cook from here. Spence should be in a little bit of a battle, though, with Anthony. So the 34 will need to watch out for that 055 and what happens in those pit stops. This is Geiger leading Gregorado, who caught up quite a bit in the pit cycle, if I'm not mistaken. It was about 4 seconds before, and now it's down to 1.
Yeah, that was a really, really, really quick in-lap, I think, from him. I think that made a big difference, and people forget about that often. They think about the actual getting on and off pit road, but they forget about the lap beforehand. You can just burn everything to the ground of that in-lap.
Ooh, and Solero's out with a monster gap to Adam Spence. And in fact, Anthony Solero, 7.8 seconds. I think, yeah, that's about tied, it looks like, for the shortest stop today in the sport class. Only other driver to reach that mark was Nick Melorano, down in 10th position. Fascinating stuff here at the end of this race. Completely different complexion from what we witnessed just moments ago in the challenge class. And down into the hairpin as we hop on board with Gregorado. I'm starting to wonder here, DJ, if Gregorado was playing possum a little bit. I know he's got scales on the car, so maybe I should have come up with a lizard pun, but he is certainly looking like he had a little bit more in the tank.
Yeah, he certainly does, and definitely pushing it in. He is losing a little bit of speed here through the second and third sector of the track. The gap opening back up to about 1.3, 1.4 seconds, but he is closing in. Look for him, especially during sector 1. That is where he looks blindingly fast.
Yeah, we'll get a sense of their lap times this time by, since that was the first full flyer around since the pit stops. And kind of curious if they are going to be the same amount of laps. I think they're going to be one more lap than what we saw from the other series. So interesting stuff. Geiger pulls a 2:03.8. Gregorado 2:04.1. I lost a little bit of time that time by.
Yeah, I think that was just how much he gave, of course, on that in-lap earlier on and the one after he came from pit road. But right now it's going to balance here, as a second place is a really strong run, but 1.4 back from Geiger is really not surmountable, I think, in the last few minutes here, unless there's a big mistake, which, let's be honest, could happen. And this is a much closer race, I think, than we've seen, as here comes, I'm not sure who that was.
Will Kelly was on pit lane for a black flag, and I'm trying to see, I don't see this handed down from the steward, so I think this was due to incident limits, but he's come into his pit stall, which is weird. Usually that's a drive-through. Not sure what's going on in that. Now he takes fuel and he gets back out. Surely he didn't go that far on fuel, I don't think. Unless he just short-fueled it a little bit and figured out that he was not going to make it to the end. Is down into turn 1. Some side-by-side between Pippin and Hillman. That was for 19th spot. Pippin was able to take that one away with that move. And yeah, we are hearing that that was a penalty for incident limits there. So 12 incidents on Will for some reason. Not sure how he got away with taking a pit stop in that. Usually you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either there, Joe, but I guess that's just the way the cookie crumbles there for him. As we focus back in on that battle you were talking about a little bit earlier, drivers starting to space themselves out here. This is Patrick Adamczyk trying to hold on to the back of Peter Yurza, as that's a lapped car going for a sojourn.
Yeah, Ward Preston way off the circuit, and thankful that they've got some paved runoff on the outside there. Balistieri here in 15th spot. He has gone up 2 from where he began this race, and we are still, yes, we are 3 laps to go now as the leader just went by the line. Because we didn't see a spin or any major dramas for Jake Geiger and the extra pace in this class, Rachel, it looks like they're going to do an extra lap compared to what we witnessed over in the challenge drivers.
Yeah, I think they are. It's just a little bit quicker as well. The lap time's down a little bit over what we saw there, so by half a second really in terms of our overall kind of qualifying time. So be interesting to see.
Balistieri can't overtake Holland quite yet, but Holland looked like he was a little shallow on the second half of the chicane. Balistieri tries to hug the inside, And looks like he's going to get a good slipstream out of it. So nice move there from Sebastiano, but now he's got to finish the job into turn 1. Shows his nose, looks for it, and he's got it. Nice textbook move out of the 516.
Yeah, absolutely perfect there from Sebastiano. Little bit of fight back here, though, from Adam Holland as they work their way up the snake. I don't think he's going to be able to do it, but still, I like the aggressiveness there.
And then behind them, that's also Ryan McGee. So he could be a cause of pressure on Holland as well, especially watching them fight like that. He knows that he could continue to get those tents smaller and smaller, but he doesn't have many laps to try and do it. He's going to have to boogie, as we're going to get the 2 to go this time by for Geiger, who's just now coming through 130R.
Yeah, Geiger's going to have a few more, I think, than we thought we might see, but it's been a really stonking run by him. Really have been impressed. And you know what? He actually said his favorite Porsche is the 993 GT2 Evo. So the guy likes his very fast cars, especially his very fast Porsches. Although I'm not sure where he stands on hot dog being a sandwich. This seems to be one of those questions we asked everybody, by the way, in the field. And yeah, half of them are wrong.
And interesting to note that he went a little wide in the chicane that time by. But yeah, he's one number off of the car that he's driving right now. This is the 992. I know we haven't mentioned it in this this broadcast, but this is the GT3 Cup car, the new Porsche Cup car that gets raced. And so far, it certainly looked like it's put on a very good show in this series compared to the old 991. So as he exits the S's, just a lap and a half left to go for Jake Geiger to, I believe, get what will be his second win of the season. Yeah, this will be win number 2 for him. Last one out came at Summit Point.
So that'll make it 2 and a row for Geiger. Obviously, this stretch of the season really starting to play out for him. Good line there, coming through the hairpin. He's just got to try to keep it together. And Joe, this can be an absolutely hair-raising time for a driver. You've got your eyes on the prize. You know what's coming down the road. You're so close to making it. You just got to continue to execute.
Can't lose your focus. Can't get the jitters now. And as Jake got the experience, as he got the steel nerves to try and keep this up for just one more time by, especially since Gregorado's still within 2 seconds. He was closer before, so that's the good news, is he has been pulling away. At least good news if you're Jake or a fan of Jake, but if you're rooting for that number 7, well, it's not looking so hot currently. Down into the Casio Triangle, and Barney has the white flag at the ready. Just one more lap to go here at Suzuka for race number 5 in the PCA Sim Racing Series 8, Rachel.
Oh yeah, fantastic run across here, and just a blissful race by him. First to first, flag to flag. Exactly how he wants to have it happen. In fact, the top 3 only changed position in one of them, and that was Gregorato and Cook. So a phenomenally consistent top 3 today.
Yeah, if we're talking hard charges, though, you got to go to Melorano, up 14, and that was from 23rd. Although one other driver has matched that, Ryan McGee went from 30th to 14th, 30th to 16th, rather. Do math, Joe, as well, in the 944 car. And there you see him out of the 130R, getting ready to take that white flag himself. A lot more drivers on the lead lap this time. Remember, we only had, I think it was like 14 finishers on the lead lap last time out in the challenge class. And clearly the cleanliness of this race and also the pace that we've been seeing from a lot of these drivers, DJ, have kept them within a little bit better distance of the leader.
Yeah, indeed. We have very, very good running from drivers across the board to keep everything nice and gathered up under them. I think what you were talking about earlier, Joe, of drivers watching the race previous to kind of learn a few tricks, definitely happening here in this class.
Spoon curve, and then he's really only got to apply the brakes maybe twice here. And the last bit of the lap, Gregorato at up to 2.5 seconds now. He continues to put distance between himself and his rival. This is a man to watch, no doubt. He's got the good pace, he's got the consistency, and now he's going to have back-to-back wins to his name this season in the sport class. Will we see him advance up the ranks pretty soon? But the way he has been running, victory today for Jake Geiger from the pole, lights the flag in the 968 machine.
Beautifully done. Really what they needed to see for this one. Absolutely put it up there so far, but just...
What happened to Christopher Cook, though? You got to wonder. 47 was 5 seconds behind Gregorado after he lost that position in the pit stop sequence. Gregorado either turned it up a whole lot or Cook just lost pace. Starkey's going to be close across the line behind Spence, but Adam will retain that top 5 after all of his action he experienced today. What about Holland and Balistieri? Wow, side-by-side action that we didn't quite see on screen there coming through 130R. Are they going to carry it on down into the triangle? And he wants to, but Holland has to give it up. And not a good exit at all off of that last chicane. Balistieri will at least be able to get 14th.
Little bit of side-by-side there in the back as well. That's Chris Pippin and Kim Fricke. It looks like Fricke is just going to be able to hold that one out by a couple of tenths.
And then behind them, I don't see any battles, unfortunately. Everybody coming across the line spread apart from here on out, all the way down to the last one on the lead lap. Goral in the number 9, running 30th today. That's going to take us to the results of the sports class race, with Jake Geiger taking the victory and Gregorado finishing behind him about 2 seconds back, at least making him work for it. Christopher Cook finished in P3, and Anthony Solero was just outside the podium, up 5 spots. Adam Spence was 5th today, with Trip Starkey in 6th and Peter Yurtza in 7th, down from where he began. Patrick Adamczyk, a nice gain of 6, followed by Melorano from 23rd to 9th. Nice job, sir. Adam Gerling rounds out your top 10. DJ?
In 11th, it was Greg Sampson, followed by Robert Walton with Carl Baccieri and Sebastiano Balistieri. Adam Holland was 15th, followed by Ryan McGee, with Kim Fricke and Chris Pippin separated only by a couple of tenths of a second at the line. Andrew Hillman was 19th, and David Kaufman rounds out your top 20.
21st is Randy Teague with Will Kelly in 22nd, Antonio Da Silva 23rd, 24th is Will Mungier, Joseph Evers 25th, Jeff Williams 26th, Craig Smith 27th, Evan Balbier in 28th, 29th is Gregory Corral, 30th David Krutzer.
After that, first one lap down was David Palmer. You've got Mark Frost behind him in 32nd and Ward Preston 33rd. Theodosis Neokli in 34th was followed by Peter Coomer. The last one lap down. From there, it looks like it was all DNFs today, down to 39th position. But not a DNF for Jake Geiger, going from a win out in West Virginia to a win in Japan, as we take a chat with him. And Jake, congratulations from the pole to victory lane. But it looked like you did have a little pressure from behind for much of the race, never more than 4.5 seconds away from anybody.
Yeah, this was an interesting one. I was pretty stressed out. The track is tricky and got a super bad head cold and sinus pressure. I almost didn't even race today, but yeah, you can't let up. We got some guys that you make small mistakes and they'll be right on you. It doesn't matter how big the gap is.
Well, that makes it even more impressive that you dealt with that while being a little under the weather. I mean, talk to us about coming into this race. What are your thoughts? Did you happen to catch any of the challenge class? Because that one was, let's say, a little messier than this race. And we were shocked at the distinct difference between that one and this one, which was quite a bit cleaner.
Yeah, like practice races, it was self spins and, a little bit of argy-bargy. But yeah, I was pretty nervous because I guess with the head fog and everything, and the only thing I could really focus on was my markers. So that's what I did, and didn't try to drive in my mirrors and just kept going. Check the relative every once in a while, but
And that seemed to do the trick. Well, if you start from the lead next week at Knock Hill, it might be a little bit more difficult. That's such a short little track. How are you feeling heading off to Scotland?
Well, it's definitely a shorter track to learn, so hopefully I won't have to spend as much time as I did here at Suzuka. From last week, my Gran Turismo days didn't really kick in for this one, so it took a lot of work.
Well, it was good work today, and congratulations on the victory. Anybody that you want to thank for back-to-back wins?
Yeah, PCA Sim. I couldn't have this much fun if this series wasn't available to us, and being a member and part of this whole group is pretty cool. So I've been wanting to sim race for years. I didn't get an excuse until I became a PCA member, and this is awesome. So any excuse I can get to do some competitive racing with some like-minded fellows is always awesome. So thanks, PCA Sim Racing.
And we concur on that one. As all that they do, as that was Jake Geiger in the 968 taking the win, as DJ is caught up with Enrico Gregorato, who is lightning fast in the pits, apparently.
Indeed. Enrico, first and foremost, talk me through that pit stop. You were in and out faster than just about anybody else on the charts. So what happened there?
I'm not quite sure what everyone else did, but I just did my regular pit stop. So I guess it just went really well this time.
Well, all right. It worked out well. But talk to me a little bit about the battles. You were involved in a battle with Christopher Cook coming into the pit stop, and then obviously able to stretch your legs away from him towards the end. How hard were you pushing?
Well, so the first half of the race, I was hoping to take it easy, and Chris was coming up behind me and pressing me a lot, so I let him by, and then just stuck with him and hoped that I would be able to overtake him in the second half of the race when the tires went off. So I was trying to save my tires as much as possible for later on in the race. So yeah, I wasn't pushing that hard at the start. But then when I was behind Jake, I made a few errors, and he managed to get away, unfortunately.
Well, I have to ask you, in the second stage of the race, when you were trying to close in a little bit on Geiger, you came down pretty close there. How hard were you pushing? What was it like to be able to close in behind?
I think I came out of the pits 2 seconds behind him, and then I managed to whittle it down to maybe 1.5 seconds. And I was pushing hard, but the track was really slippery and it was kind of sketchy. So I didn't want to bin the car. So I then backed off a little bit just to finish the race. I mean, a podium is great, and Jake deserves P1. He's been very fast all week, so I'm happy with that.
Well, I am glad that you are happy, my friend. Anybody you would like to thank for, as you said, a very good podium here today?
Yeah, as usual, my family, who let me dedicate so many hours to this esport. Then everyone at PCA Sim Racing, and someone else who, or a couple of other people who hardly ever get mentioned because they are the ones that dish out the penalties. But I just want to thank Race Control for the amazing job they do week after week in all of the PCA races.
Well, we'd like to thank you as well, Enrico. A great run here today. That was Enrico Gregorato, your second place finisher. And Rachel, I believe you've caught up with P3, Christopher Cook.
I have indeed, Chris. Busy one today. Podium result for you, of course, here, top 3. Tell me about how the race was.
Oh, the race was fantastic. You know, it was really increasing. It was getting really hard. Very, huge challenge for me, and I'm sure my competitors here. I had a terrible pit stop, but it was a great race, and I'm happy we completed.
Certainly did, of course. And the fighting with Gregorato did seem to be pretty much the definition of the race for you two. And what was that like?
It was pretty fantastic. I love the challenge. I couldn't have it any other way.
Awesome. Well, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to or thank?
Yeah, of course. I'd want to thank, you guys, Podium Esports and the PCA, our volunteers, and my life. Without it, it couldn't be possible.
It's awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Christopher Cook coming home today in third.
Thank you.
That wraps it up for this evening with both of our races done, but we have more racing coming later this week. We'll see you next time at Suzuka once again at 9 p.m. Eastern on Friday, April 22nd, live here on Podium Esports. A big thank you goes to the steering committee at PCA Sim Racing, and a huge thanks to our team tonight, DJ, Rachel, Ryan, Cameron, and Dougie. Also, none of this would be possible without those behind the scenes at Podium Esports, Ryan Bauer, Gary Sexton, and John Theodore. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of PCA Sim Racing. I'm Joe Peak, and I'll see you on the track.